For the Empire, written by Ethan Hunt 65, Part 1 of the Trilogy. The Grand War Council chamber of the Draknid Empire hummed with anticipation, its crystalline walls reflecting the bioluminescent glow of 1,000 elite warriors. Tzzk'rix stood before the High Command, his iridescent scales rippling with pride. After all, he wasn't just any warrior. He was the youngest ever to achieve the rank of Shadow Strike Commander. The humans, Elder Tzzk'rix's voice resonated through the chamber, remain an enigma. Our previous attempts at infiltration have been unsuccessful. The Elder's fourth arm twitched, a sign of discomfort that Tzzk'rix found amusing. How dangerous could these soft-skinned primitives really be? With all due respect, honored Elder, Tzzk'rix's mandibles clicked confidently. Previous operatives clearly lacked my particular set of skills. These Deathworlders are merely evolved primates who haven't even achieved unified planetary governance. The holoscreen flickered to life, displaying various human activities that had been covertly recorded. Tzzk'rix's compound eyes widened slightly at the sight of humans willingly ingesting molecular-grade thermal weapons, something they called ghost peppers, but he maintained his composure. Your biomodification process begins tomorrow, the chief scientist announced, her tentacles wrapping nervously around her datapad. You'll be altered to appear human, complete with their revolting single-layer epidermis and limited sensory capabilities. Tzzk'rix suppressed a shudder. And my mission parameters? Infiltrate a group of humans engaging in recreational activities. We believe these holidays are actually combat training exercises disguised as leisure. Gather intelligence on their weaknesses and report back to us. Later in his quarters, Tzzk'rix reviewed the mission briefing. His mandibles clicked in amusement at the warning labels. Caution. Humans have been observed continuing physical activity with multiple bone fractures and, warning, species known to consume substances toxic to 90% of known sentient life for pleasure. Primitive endurance adaptations, he chittered to himself, already drafting his future victory speech. Nothing a Draknid warrior can't handle. As he prepared for tomorrow's biomodification, Tzzk'rix imagined how impressed the council would be when he returned with detailed plans for Earth's conquest. He'd show them why he was the Empire's finest warrior. The last thing he packed was his emergency beacon, not that he'd need it. After all, how challenging could it be to survive among creatures who hadn't even evolved proper exoskeletons? Tzzk'rix, now sporting his human disguise and answering to Terry, stood in the sweltering heat of Cairns, Australia. He'd chosen this location after intercepting human communications about something called the Most Extreme Adventure Tours. Surely, if humans were training their warriors anywhere, it would be in this notorious continent where every indigenous species seemed designed for maximum lethality. His new epidermis was already doing that disgusting human thing, sweating, revolting. The biomodification team had done their best, giving him the appearance of a tall, lean backpacker with what humans considered acceptable facial features. At least his cover story was simple. A Canadian tourist seeking thrills. Whatever a Canadian was. "Oi! You must be Terry!" A booming voice made him jump. A sun-weathered human female with alarming arm muscles approached, grinning maniacally. "I'm Sarah, your tour guide. The rest of the group's inside the cafe. We're just having our morning coffee before heading out." Coffee. Tzzk'rix had read about this mysterious black liquid, a stimulant so powerful it was used as industrial cleaner on 7 different worlds. And these humans just drank it? Inside the cafe, 4 more humans lounged around a table, a pair of giggling females called Emma and Jessica. Just call us the Chaos Twins, a male named Mike, who appeared to be constructed entirely of muscle and cheerfulness, and a smaller male called Dave who wore something called a Star Wars shirt and kept making references Tzzk'rix didn't understand. "Here, mate, first cup's on me." Mike pushed a steaming mug toward him. "Flat white, can't go wrong." Tzzk'rix stared at the cup. His mission briefing hadn't prepared him for this. He couldn't blow his cover on the first day. With what he hoped was a casual motion, he lifted the cup to his lips. The flavor hit him like a plasma burst. His modified taste buds screamed in protest, but the humans were watching, so he swallowed. Delicious, he croaked, the unexpectedly scalding liquid burning down his throat. Right! Sarah clapped her hands. Today's just a warm-up. We'll do some light hiking in the rainforest, spot some crocs, maybe handle a few snakes. Handle snakes? Tzzk'rix interrupted. Surely she was joking. Even his species knew better than to touch venomous creatures. Oh yeah, mate, wait till you see the pythons. Absolute units. Mike's enthusiasm was terrifying. The Chaos twins were already showing him pictures on their communication devices of previous tours. Humans dangling off cliffs, humans poking deadly creatures, humans grinning while surrounded by things that could kill them. As they piled into the tour vehicle, Dave leaned over. First time in Australia? Tzzk'rix nodded weakly. Don't worry about the deadly stuff, Dave grinned. It's the drop bears you really have to watch out for. The others burst out laughing at some joke Tzzk'rix didn't understand, but his imagination gladly showed him a large carnivorous beast dropping down from trees. He tried to ignore it. As they drove toward the rainforest, he began composing his first report in his head. Day 1, humans voluntarily consume poison for pleasure, show signs of collective insanity, request permission to revise mission parameters. But the day was young, and Tzzk'rix had no idea that coffee would soon be the least of his concerns. The rainforest awaited, and with it, his first real test of pretending to be as casually insane as these fascinating and terrifying humans. The Australian rainforest loomed before them, a verdant death trap teeming with creatures that would be classified as biological weapons on any civilized planet. Tzzk'rix's biomodified skin was working overtime, producing what he could only describe as a biblical flood of sweat. Mate, you're absolutely drenched! Mike clapped him on the back, nearly sending Tzzk'rix's artificial nervous system into overdrive. Never seen anyone sweat quite like that. You're like a human waterfall. Sarah pulled out something called a trail mix from her pack. Here, you need to replenish your electrolytes. Got some wasabi peas in there too. Gives it a kick. Tzzk'rix accepted the mixture, not realizing that kick was a massive understatement. The wasabi hit his modified taste buds like a plasma grenade, triggering another tsunami of sweat from his malfunctioning epidermis. Bloody hell, Emma exclaimed. It's like he's got his own personal rain cloud. Dave, give him your spare shirt before he creates a new water source for the forest. Jessica pulled out her phone. This is definitely going on Instagram. #HumanWaterfall, #SweatGoals. The group had been hiking for 3 hours, and while the humans showed no signs of fatigue, they were fascinated by Tzzk'rix's unique condition. His skin suit was now operating at 300% capacity, trying desperately to regulate his temperature. You know, Dave mused, walking backward on the treacherous trail as if death wasn't literally everywhere, I once knew a guy who sweated like this. Turned out he was actually 3 aliens in a trench coat. Tzzk'rix nearly tripped over a root. That's absurd! Completely impossible! Not that I would know anything about aliens being a normal human Canadian person who sweats normally. The group roared with laughter. Classic Terry, Mike wheezed. You're hilarious, mate. They reached a clearing where Sarah announced their lunch break. Tzzk'rix's relief was short-lived when she pulled out sandwiches containing something called Vegemite. Traditional Aussie bush tucker, she grinned, handing him one. Bit of an acquired taste. The moment the black substance touched his tongue, his skin suit went into complete meltdown. Water practically gushed from his pores, creating a small puddle beneath his feet. Crikey, Jessica exclaimed. Terry's not sweating anymore. He's straight up melting. Quick, someone get him a Gatorade before he turns into a puddle. Emma rummaged through her pack, producing a fluorescent blue liquid that Tzzk'rix's scanners identified as containing enough electrolytes to power a small spacecraft. Dave was now filming the whole thing. This is better than that time we saw that guy wrestle a croc. Hey Terry, do you mind if I submit this to Australia's funniest home videos? Tzzk'rix, now sitting in his own personal swamp, managed to croak out, "Is this normal for a hike?" "Normal?" Sarah laughed. "Mate, this is nothing. Wait till tomorrow when we do the real challenging stuff. This is just the warm-up." For the first time in his distinguished military career, Tzzk'rix felt real fear. As he watched Mike casually flick away a spider that could have killed half his home planet, he realized that perhaps, just perhaps, he had underestimated these humans. His internal communication device buzzed with an incoming message from command. "Status report overdue. Please confirm survival." Tzzk'rix looked at his drenched clothes, the half-eaten death sandwich, and the group of humans treating this death march as a casual stroll. He sent back a single word: help. The day wasn't even half over, and somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled ominously. Or perhaps it was just the sound of his dignity crumbling away, one sweat drop at a time. The morning dawned with Tzzk'rix's skin suit finally achieving some semblance of normalcy, though he'd spent the night sending increasingly desperate messages to his superiors about the previous day's death march. But today's activity, Sarah had announced with disturbing cheerfulness, would be whitewater rafting on the Tully River. "Watch out for the mozzies," Dave warned as they suited up in safety gear. "They're proper monsters up here. Had one last week carry off a small child." He managed to keep a straight face for exactly 2 seconds before breaking into a grin. A high-pitched buzz near Tzzk'rix's ear sent him leaping 3 feet into the air, arms windmilling wildly. "Aerial attack!" he shrieked before remembering his cover. Oh my, what a large insect!" Mike wiped tears from his eyes. "Mate, that was a fly. Wait till you see the actual mosquitoes." The Chaos Twins were practically rolling on the ground. "Did anyone get that on video?" Emma gasped between fits of laughter. "The way he just launched?" "Better than Olympic gymnastics," Jessica agreed, holding up her phone triumphantly. Another buzz sent Tzzk'rix into an elaborate ducking maneuver that would have made his combat instructors proud. "These blood-sucking creatures," he muttered, trying to maintain dignity while swatting at the air. "They're not really the size of birds, correct?" Sarah's grin turned positively evil. "Oh no, some are much bigger, especially near the river. We call the really big ones drop squeedos. They've learned to dive bomb from the trees." Tzzk'rix's internal sensors were reporting dangerous levels of stress hormones. He made a mental note to update the Empire's database. Humans employ psychological warfare through humor and deliberately false information about already terrifying wildlife. As they approached the river, the rushing water sound nearly drowned out the insect buzzing, nearly but not quite. Every few seconds, Tzzk'rix would twitch, jump, or perform increasingly elaborate evasive maneuvers at the slightest sound. "Right," Sarah announced. "Everyone in the raft. Terry, since you're so alert, you can take point position." The humans had somehow neglected to mention that whitewater rafting meant voluntarily hurling oneself down a rushing death trap in an inflatable vessel. As they approached the first rapid, Tzzk'rix heard another buzz and instinctively ducked, causing the raft to tilt precariously. "Paddle!" Sarah shouted over the roar of water. "And Terry, stop trying to fight the mosquitoes. They're winning!" "They're evolving!" he screamed back, swatting at nothing while simultaneously trying to paddle. "They're using tactical formation strikes." Dave, somehow managing to film while paddling, called out, "This is going viral! Canadian tourist declares war on Australian insects. Perfect clickbait." The raft hit a particularly large wave just as Tzzk'rix heard another buzz. His reaction, a combination of combat roll and SWAT, sent the entire raft spinning into what Sarah later described as the most impressive accidental trick maneuver I've ever seen. As they somehow survived yet another rapid, Tzzk'rix's pride lay in tatters, much like his dignity. His mission report for the day would read, "Humans utilize primitive water torture methods for entertainment. Local insects appear to have military training. Request immediate extraction or, at minimum, orbital insect repellent deployment. The Chaos Twins had just started singing something about 99 bottles of beer on the wall, whatever that meant. Another buzz, another jump, and Tzzk'rix wondered if perhaps the Empire should simply quarantine this entire planet and call it a day. Standing at the edge of the cairn's bungee platform, 164 feet above the rainforest canopy, Tzzk'rix was experiencing what humans called an existential crisis. His species had evolved from sensible creatures that stayed firmly on the ground, thank you very much. "Come on, Terry," Mike encouraged. "It's just a little hop. Even my grand's done this one." Tzzk'rix peered over the edge, his modified human heart attempting to escape through his throat. "This is clearly mass suicide," he muttered. "The humans have finally lost what's left of their minds." Sarah was adjusting his harness, grinning like a maniac. "Remember, arms out like a bird, though maybe not like those mosquitoes you were fighting yesterday." "I was not fighting." Tzzk'rix began to back away, his feet shuffling awkwardly. "Perhaps we could do something more reasonable, like drinking more of that industrial cleaner you call coffee?" "No backing out now," Emma called, her phone already recording. "We've got a bet going on whether your scream will break Dave's record from the croc encounter." That's when it happened. His biomodified feet, still not quite calibrated to human balance parameters, encountered a small pebble. Time seemed to slow as Tzzk'rix felt himself pitching backward, then forward, his arms windmilling in what he would later insist was a tactically sound stabilization attempt. "Oh shit, he's going!" Jessica squealed with delight. "This is even better than we planned." Tzzk'rix's scream started at a frequency that would have shattered glass on his home world, then modulated through what could only be described as a symphony of terror as he plummeted toward the earth. "Sweet mother of the void! Activate emergency protocols! Mayday, mayday, this is not a drill!" The humans above were howling with laughter, their commentary mixing with his continued screams. "Did he just yell something about emergency protocols?" Dave wheezed. "Listen to that pitch change." Mike was practically crying. "It's like an opera singer having a panic attack." The bungee cord caught, and Tzzk'rix bounced back up, his screams now punctuated by words in his native language that the universal translator refused to process. "Is he speaking in tongues?" Sarah managed between gasps of laughter. "This is premium content." As he bounced up and down, gradually slowing, Tzzk'rix's mind raced through every combat training scenario he'd ever encountered. None of them had covered voluntary falling while attached to an elastic cord for entertainment. "You're doing great, Terry!" Emma shouted down. "Just 7 more bounces to go!" 7? His voice cracked on a particularly high note. "This planet is insane! I want to file a formal complaint with your governing body!" Jessica, still filming, provided running commentary. Day 5 of Canadian Terry's complete mental breakdown tour brings us to what I believe is the single greatest bungee jump reaction in human history. Note the perfect pitch of absolute terror, the creative use of what might be Latin. When they finally winched him back up, Tzzk'rix's skin suit was working overtime again, producing enough sweat to fill a small pool. His hair stood on end, defying both gravity and the biomodification team's best efforts at human aesthetics. "So," Sarah grinned, "ready for the second jump?" Tzzk'rix's response was to faint dead away, providing the humans with yet another excellent filming opportunity and confirming his growing suspicion that Earth wasn't a planet. It was an elaborate torture facility disguised as a vacation destination. His unconscious form twitched as another mosquito buzzed past, prompting fresh peals of laughter from his tormentors, tour companions. Somewhere in orbit, his ship's AI logged another distress signal, this one consisting entirely of high-pitched whimpers and the words, "never again," repeated 50 times. The Undara lava tubes loomed before them, their gaping maws seeming to mock Tzzk'rix's rapidly deteriorating sanity. Still twitching from yesterday's bungee incident, he'd hoped today's cave exploration would be tame. After all, his people lived in caves for the longest time. "Right, everyone switch on your headlamps," Sarah chirped, far too enthusiastically for someone about to lead a group into the planet's digestive system. And watch out for the huntsman spiders. They love to drop in and say, "Good day." "Drop in?" Tzzk'rix's voice cracked. "Oh, yeah." Dave grinned, adjusting his camera's night vision setting. "Big, beautiful ones about the size of dinner plates. Completely harmless, though." The Chaos Twins exchanged knowing looks. "Remember to check your pants when you feel something tickling," Emma added innocently. "They're curious little buggers." Tzzk'rix's biosuit sensors were already registering elevated stress levels as they ventured deeper into the cave. The darkness pressed in, broken only by their bobbing headlamps. Every shadow seemed to move. Every rock formation looked like a lurking predator. Then he felt it, a distinct tickle on his ankle. "Walking normally, everything is fine, totally fine," he muttered, trying to ignore the sensation creeping up his leg. Perfectly normal human cave exploration. Mike's headlamp caught his face. "You okay there, Terry? You're looking a bit peaky." The tickling reached his knee. "Sweet merciful nebulas!" Tzzk'rix exploded into action, performing what could only be described as an interpretive dance of pure panic. "Creature! Ascending! Leg region! Emergency! Emergency!" His headlamp beam bounced wildly as he hopped from foot to foot, slapping at his legs and screaming in progressively higher octaves. The humans, predictably, dissolved into hysteria. "Jessica, are you getting this?" Emma wheezed between laughs. "Every glorious second." Jessica steadied her phone. "The lighting is perfect." Tzzk'rix's dance reached a crescendo as he attempted to remove his pants while hopping, forgetting entirely about his species' dignity or his cover story. "Tactical retreat. Abandon lower garments." Sarah's headlamp revealed the cause of his distress, a small cave cricket that had been seeking warmth. "Terry, mate, it's just a—" But Tzzk'rix was beyond reason. In his panic, he'd managed to tangle himself in his own pants, hopping directly into a shallow pool of cave water. The splash echoed through the cavern, accompanied by what sounded suspiciously like Draknid war cry. "Did he just—" Dave wiped tears from his eyes. "Did he just screech in Klingon?" "Better!" Mike was doubled over. "He's created a whole new language of terror." Tzzk'rix emerged from the pool, pants around his ankles, biosuit glitching slightly from the moisture. The cricket, unharmed, hopped away into the darkness. He panted, trying to salvage some dignity. "I was merely demonstrating traditional Canadian cave dancing." "Yes, very traditional. We do this all the time in Canada." "Of course you do, mate." Sarah patted his shoulder, barely containing her mirth. "Of course you do." As they helped him up, Tzzk'rix's internal communicator buzzed with a message from command. "Your latest biosignature readings are concerning. Should we prepare emergency extraction?" He glanced at the humans, still wiping tears of laughter from their eyes, then at the cricket-infested darkness ahead. His reply was succinct. "Not yet, but keep the engines warm." The cave seemed to echo with the sounds of human laughter and what would later become a viral video titled "Canadian Tourist vs. Cave Cricket, a Symphony of Screams." Somewhere in the darkness, a huntsman spider watched, waiting for its moment to drop in and say hello. Dawn broke over Mount Bartle Frere, Queensland's highest peak. With the kind of ominous beauty that should have warned Tzzk'rix, this was yet another terrible idea. His skin suit had barely recovered from the cave incident, and now here they were, preparing to climb what the humans casually referred to as a bit of a challenge. "Perfect weather for a climb," Sarah announced, checking her gear while dark clouds gathered overhead. "Bit of rain'll keep us cool." "Rain?" Tzzk'rix squeaked, remembering his briefing about Earth's weather. "You mean the acid that falls from the sky?" Mike clapped him on the shoulder. "Mate, after yesterday's cricket ballet, I thought nothing could scare you." The Chaos Twins were already taking bets on what would break Terry first: the height, the weather, or the local wildlife. "My money's on the leeches," Emma whispered not so quietly. "The what?" Tzzk'rix's modified voice hit a new octave. "Oh yeah," Dave grinned, adjusting his ever-present camera. "Little blood-sucking worms. They love the rain. Don't worry, though. They're smaller than the mosquitoes. Halfway up the mountain, the rain started. Tzzk'rix's suit began its now familiar malfunction, alternating between sauna and refrigerator settings. The humans naturally treated the treacherous conditions like a party. "Look!" Jessica pointed excitedly. "A death adder! Terry, want to take a closer look?" "Negative!" He pressed himself against the rock face. No thank you. I am practicing my rock hugging. Very Canadian." Thunder cracked overhead, causing him to emit what he would later insist was a tactical assessment vocalization. But what the humans' video evidence clearly showed as a shriek that sent several birds flying. "Did anyone else hear that?" Mike called through the rain. "Sounded like a pterodactyl having a breakdown." The climb became increasingly vertical, with the humans casually discussing lunch plans while hanging from what appeared to be dental floss attached to the mountain. Tzzk'rix's internal sensors were reporting critical levels of nope. Then came the lightning. "Amazing!" Sarah shouted as bolts lit up the sky. "Nature's light show!" Tzzk'rix's briefing had specifically mentioned Earth's habit of hurling atmospheric electricity. His species had evolved specifically to avoid such phenomena, and here were these humans, treating it like entertainment. "We should descend," he pleaded. "Surely this is beyond safe parameters." "Safe parameters?" Dave laughed. "Negative, Mr. Data," he said in a very bad English accent. Tzzk'rix contemplated if his emergency beacon would work through the storm. A particularly close lightning strike illuminated something on the rock face next to him, something with far too many legs. "Oh, that's just a giant centipede," Emma called out helpfully. "They come out in the rain." Tzzk'rix's scream harmonized perfectly with the thunder, creating what Dave would later describe as nature's perfect duet. His attempt to escape the centipede while suspended 500 meters up a mountain in a lightning storm would later go viral as Canadian Parkour, Extreme Edition. Is he trying to climb upside down?" Jessica marveled, filming steadily despite the rain. "Tactical retreat! Tactical retreat!" Tzzk'rix had somehow managed to tangle himself in the safety ropes while attempting to exist in all possible directions simultaneously. Sarah's calm voice cut through his panic. "Only another 500 meters to go. Then we can start the really challenging part." Tzzk'rix's response was lost in another thunderclap, but the humans would later swear it sounded suspiciously like a prayer in an alien language, followed by what might have been coordinates for an orbital strike. As they continued their ascent, the rain intensified, the lightning drew closer, and somewhere in the galaxy, a Draknid war council received a message consisting entirely of weather alerts and the words, "Humans are insane." The local pub in Cairns should have been a safe haven after the mountain incident, but Tzzk'rix had learned that nowhere was truly safe on this death planet. His biosuit was still occasionally hiccuping from the lightning exposure, causing random patches of his skin to briefly turn iridescent. "Ladies and gentlemen," the pub owner's voice boomed across the room, "it's time for our annual Ghost Pepperwing Challenge." Mike's eyes lit up with unholy glee. "Terry, you've got to enter. Show these Aussies what Canadians are made of." "I really shouldn't," Tzzk'rix began, but the Chaos Twins were already signing him up. "The rules are simple," the owner explained, setting down platters of innocent-looking wings. "Eat 10 wings in 10 minutes, no drinks, no dairy, last person standing wins." Tzzk'rix's internal scanner analyzed the wings and immediately began flashing warning symbols he'd never seen before. The chemical composition was closer to plasma fuel than food. "Don't worry," Dave grinned, camera at the ready. "They're only rated at 1.5 million Scoville units." Sarah leaned in. "Just remember, the burning sensation is all in your head." The competition began. Tzzk'rix watched in horror as the humans actually seemed to enjoy what was clearly chemical warfare in food form. His first bite sent emergency signals cascading through his biosuit. "You're turning a bit purple there, mate," Mike observed cheerfully. Indeed, Tzzk'rix's skin suit was malfunctioning spectacularly, cycling through colors like a malfunctioning chameleon having a disco party. The capsaicin was interfering with his modification protocols. Is that normal? Jessica pointed at his left ear, which had briefly reverted to its natural antenna form. Completely, Tzzk'rix squeaked, trying to force it back into human shape. Very common Canadian condition. We call it maple fever. By the fifth wing, his universal translator had crashed, causing him to alternate between English and his native clicking language. The humans naturally assumed this was just part of his charm. Listen to him, Emma wheezed. He's speaking in tongues again. Thermal overload, Tzzk'rix screamed, forgetting himself entirely. Initiating emergency purge. His biosuit, unable to cope with the pepper's chemical assault, began to glitch dramatically. Patches of scales appeared and disappeared, his carefully crafted human fingers briefly morphing into claws. Struth! The pub owner exclaimed. I've seen people react badly to the wings before, but this is something else. Dave was practically bouncing with excitement. This is better than that time at the cave. Look, his hair is changing color with each bite. The final wing proved to be Tzzk'rix's undoing. As it touched his tongue, his biosuit went into full meltdown. His carefully constructed human appearance began to pixelate like a bad video game rendering. Is he glowing? Someone in the crowd asked. Abort mission! Abort mission! Tzzk'rix's voice modulator failed, revealing his natural harmonic screech. Emergency extraction required! Code red! Code red! The pub erupted in chaos as Tzzk'rix's true form began to show through his failing disguise. His emergency beacon activated automatically, sending out a distress signal that would have his superiors facepalming across 3 galaxies. I knew it! Dave shouted triumphantly. I told you he was an alien! The last thing Tzzk'rix saw before his extraction beam activated was Sarah calmly taking another bite of her ghost pepper wing, giving him a thumbs up and saying, Same time next year, mate? His final thought, as his molecular structure was beamed to safety, was that perhaps the Empire should consider reclassifying Earth not as a potential conquest, but as a quarantined zone of collective insanity. Behind him, he left a pub full of slightly drunk Australians who would forever tell the story of the Canadian tourist who turned out to be an alien, only to have everyone assume it was just another typical night in Cairns. In the sterile confines of the Draknid Empire's flagship medical bay, Tzzk'rix floated in a regeneration tank, his natural iridescent scales still occasionally flickering with residual ghost pepper trauma. 3 medical officers, 2 xenobiologists, and 1 very confused psychiatrist stood before the high command, attempting to explain their findings. The damage is unprecedented, Chief Medical Officer Christ clicked, gesturing to the holographic displays of Tzzk'rix's bio-readings. His cellular structure shows signs of what appears to be voluntary exposure to multiple lethal situations. Show them the footage, Tzzk'rix burbled through the healing gel. They need to understand. The assembled council watched in horror as the compilation of Dave's videos played out. Tzzk'rix's greatest hits included his mosquito ballet, the bungee incident, and the now infamous ghost pepper meltdown. Several council members had to look away during the cave cricket episode. And the humans, Elder Cathax's mandibles quivered. They do this for entertainment? Entertainment? Tzzk'rix's laugh held a slightly hysterical edge. That's just their warm-up. They have something called extreme sports that makes these activities look like larval play. The psychiatrist stepped forward, consulting her notes. Patient exhibits signs of what we're calling human exposure trauma. He keeps muttering about drop bears and Vegemite in his sleep. The mission report, if you please, the High Commander requested. Tzzk'rix's official report appeared on the main screen. Classification, urgent. Subject, Earth assessment. Status, terminate all invasion plans immediately. Findings. Humans possess no survival instinct whatsoever, making them impossible to intimidate. They voluntarily jump off perfectly good structures while attached to elastic cords. Their recreational activities would qualify as military-grade training on any civilized world. They consume substances that would be classified as biological weapons in our space. Their tourist activities are indistinguishable from torture methods. Recommendation: quarantine the entire solar system. Mark Earth as approach at own risk. Possibly rename it to that place where sanity goes to die. Surely you're exaggerating, one council member protested. In response, Tzzk'rix had them play the video of Sarah casually handling a death adder while explaining its venom potency with the same enthusiasm one might discuss a pet tribble. I haven't even mentioned their extreme cooking shows, Tzzk'rix shuddered, or something called parkour. The High Commander raised all four arms for silence. Based on this report and evidence, I move to officially classify humans not as potential conquests, but as, let's say, enthusiastically suicidal adrenaline enthusiasts to be avoided at all costs. They've already posted the videos online, Tzzk'rix added glumly. I'm apparently trending under hashtag alien tourist fails and hashtag spacemate can't handle the heat. As the council dispersed, still looking slightly shell-shocked, Tzzk'rix's communication device buzzed one last time. It was a message from Dave. Oi, Terry, or whatever your real name is. Same time next year, we're planning a little base-jumping expedition. Bring your alien mates. The more the merrier. P.S. Your videos have gone viral. You're a legend, mate. Tzzk'rix quickly deleted the message, turned off his device, and requested an increased dose of anxiety medication. Some species, he decided, were best admired from several galaxies away. In his final addendum to the report, he added one last note. Warning: humans don't need weapons to be dangerous. Their idea of fun is sufficient to bring any empire to its knees. The end. Though somewhere on Earth, the Chaos Twins were already planning Terry's Welcome Back tour, with activities that would make even a Klingon think twice.